Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jim from the Pain PT. Good to see you guys today. I have a success story today. I know you guys love success stories because it really helps people on their own recoveries. I have Jasper here, who's actually right down the street from me, more or less, in San Diego. Hey Jasper,
Hey, how's it going?
good to see you. Yeah, you're not too far from me. I remember we worked together for some sessions and we both said, man, you're right here in North County. So a local person. And I'm happy you're here and you're willing to come on and share your story because I think it's so helpful and I appreciate you doing this. So I'm going to turn it over to you and maybe you can start from the beginning.
Start from the beginning.
Maybe not that far back.
Yeah. No, you know what? I think the best place to start is actually the day that I called you, because that's pretty much the beginning of my awakening, if you will. Um, I was lying on the sofa in pain, in like severe back pain, and then my old friend was back, and I've been really struggling because I've been working with this physical therapist, and this current onset of pain had just kind of gotten like worse and better, worse and better, worse and better. Like, I didn't even do anything. There's never been a thing that's gone wrong, and yet it's just getting worse and worse. And now I'm in the full-on flare. Like, what is going on? And as I was lying there going, how could this be happening? I literally am doing so well in so other many ways, but here I am, like locked down. And since people don't know me, I already spent 2 years of my life, two separate times, lying on a mattress for months on a floor all day because I couldn't use any of my limbs for the most part. Crippling back pain and big disc extrusions. One was like a 9 millimeter extrusion, one was like a 14 millimeter extrusion. Both of them
Those,
just
for those people who don't know what the millimeters, those are big. Those are very large disc.
Yeah, these are you can definitely get surgery if you want. Now you don't have to, but you have enough for them to get medical clearance to sort of push it through insurance. You can get surgery here. Thankfully, I never found a doctor who's like, yeah, let's cut. So anyway, but those are miserable, miserable years. They felt like just they felt like the darkest years of my life. And so to be battling again, I'm like, what's happening? So I remember the story that I had read about this San Diego volleyball player who had chronic regional pain syndrome, CRPS. And he was like the super high flying athlete, and he had a stress fracture in his foot that they put him in a walking boot, but then started getting worse, started swelling, turning red, and it grew across his body to the point where even a fan blowing on him caused him agony. And then he had gone to the special Johns Hopkins program, and they had helped they had a program for chronic regional pain syndrome. It was like wearing super tight clothes, basically desensitization. But I thought about this, like, man, I'd read about him a couple of years ago and wondered if there was a connection to my life, but I put it away. But now I'm on the sofa again in a really bad shape. And I myself had gone through my own miserable ankle swelling, just brutal ankle swelling for no reason. That, I was sitting there on the floor. I'm going to show you this picture, doing my thing, and all of a sudden I'm in agony, and no one can explain why. I went to the emergency room right away, saying, what's going on, and they
Wow.
said this went from me sitting still talking to my wife to just blistering
So
agony,
it happened that quick is what you're saying. Like
like boom. And 20 minutes later, I'm in the emergency room, like, I don't know what to do. They're looking for gout, they're looking for all these things that it could be, but I'm just left in misery. And I went through weeks of ankle explosions every 3 days, and just like inflating from the inside. I kept asking doctors, is it possible that your body could be telling something to swell when it shouldn't be? And they said, no, that's not how it works. That's like your body doesn't even, that's not even physiologically possible. Like, actually, it is. It's called chronic regional pain syndrome, and it's quite a common known thing. So, no, you're wrong, Mr. Ankle Surgeon. Ankle surgeons don't talk to others. So, I had one guy who said, there's only one option for you. You got to fuse your ankle. The whole thing just
unbelievable.
narrow.
No history. Like ask you a question. Hey, this came sudden onset with no physical injury. I mean, everybody listening, you saw the picture there, Jasper. This looks serious to me. You're going to tell the rest of the story, but just take this in that can happen, and it cannot be a physical structural problem in your ankle.
It's a real pain. In fact, this whole thing we're going to talk about is real pain caused by real body reactions. But what's the source? Because
Yeah.
that's where it's at, man. What is the source? And in this case, I'm lying on the sofa and I'm like, I got nothing else to do. And let me look up that guy again, that volleyball player. And I look it up and there's a new article. It's been updated a couple of years. And this time it explains the stress factor, the swelling, the redness. They're like, wait, redness, swelling, like ankle? Holy shit, was my ankle it, it was. That could probably have been chronic regional pain syndrome. And I already know from my last back episode where I lay on the mat for months at a time that I went through rounds and rounds of physical therapy for 2 8-week batches. And at the end, they did, let's do a test to see how strong your back is. And they do like the machines. And I was as strong as they would, I was above average strength. Like, you're good. And yet I'm having nervousness and tingling down my legs. Both feet are tingling all the time. Why is that happening, Mr. Therapist? I don't know. And the last guy's like, have you thought about like the mind thing? I'm like, ah. And that's the one who said, he introduced me to probably Sarno in that moment.
Mm.
Um, but I couldn't believe it. That I read the Sarno book. I thought this is like 4 years ago. I was like, I mean, there's a lot here, but no. But in this moment, when I'm like, that one day, I read that book, and I remember the next day my feet didn't tingle, and I was like, that's weird. I didn't say anything to my wife. 2 days went by, still no tingling. This has been going on for like 9 months of tingles. And now 2 days in a row with no tingles, 3, 4, 5. I got to 8 days with no tingles. And I thought, is this literally from just reading the book, just mentally, believing it's possible that it went away? And it did go away. And so I thought I'd already
You
found.
had what we call a book cure, basically. You had, plus you had in your mind already the information you took in from the other story, right? And you read that book, and it must have impacted you so strongly that on the subconscious level, right, it caused some changes.
It definitely made me believe that mind body was a thing a little bit, but I didn't really know. It was only on this new episode with the back a few years later when I connected the dots to the ankle swelling being chronic regional pain, to me knowing for sure I have seen mind body turn off a symptom in my body that seemed untouchable through all other Western approaches, acupuncture, all the things you would do for radiculopathy didn't do shit, except for when I said maybe it's not real, which I
Yeah.
didn't even know. I didn't even know I said it, but my mind must have heard it.
Yeah.
So good.
No, no, that's amazing. I'm just taking everybody listening. It's not real. It's real, but it's not real, right?
Yeah.
It's really
It's
happening.
real.
And
It's
the
real
fact
pain.
that it came
Yeah.
on so fast, it could go fast, right? At least for that ankle, man, it oh man on out of nowhere shows you what your brain can do, but also it shows you how you can get out of it too.
So that ankle eventually just evaporated after 6 9 months of torturing me, and no explanation why. I do think there's a common thing here. I think it was marital challenges that may have been
Yeah.
really going on for me. And marital challenges could have been what's going on in this most recent episode of back pain. But when I read the story of the complex regional pain and I tied it to the last episode, and I thought, oh my God, I have mind body syndrome. So then I started geeking out on that really quick. I found you. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a pain PT who does this, but he's in Carlsbad or he's close by. But you weren't actually, you were sort of close by, but
Yeah.
traveling. Um, and I looked up all the right doctors. And I thought, look, I already know I have this. I just want to talk to some pros to have them confirm it. I don't want to self-diagnose here. I want to meet the best people, have them look me up and down and say, dude, you got this. And along the way, while I was waiting, I said, I'm going to stand up right now, and my back is not a problem. And so I stood up, I started walking around the deck and walking around. I'm like, this is not a real back episode. And I am fine. And I started making myself bend over. And it was things, you don't just make super tight muscles just stop. But I was 50% better upon the acceptance that I'm going to be okay. And
Mm.
then by the next day, I was riding my bike, and the back episode took like 2 days to sort of just flush out of the system where all the muscles relaxed. But I basically made that stop. And then I found you and I kept believing this is true. And then I made a list of everything in my life that since the day I was born that could have been a mind body thing based on Sarno, like indigestion and constipation and like anxiety and panic attacks and lower back pain and random nerve pains and like on and on and on. There's a lot of stuff. It was actually a page and a half single space.
I remember reading that. I remember you emailed it to me, and I was like, "Man, this thing's like this is not just a couple, one paragraph here. You had a lot of
Yeah,
stuff in there."
yeah, and also having the right mindset, like being a perfectionist and being like driven, whatever. I was like, this just fits me. So I came into this sort of, I didn't even need. I was just looking for confirmation.
Yeah, you were already primed. You were already had I remember you sharing me those experiences about your ankle and other things. You were kind of ready. You just needed to know for sure that nothing was wrong with you. This is what it was, right?
Yeah, and then we worked together and we got some tests right away. So in spite of being like, I think this is important, especially for people who are out there still like trying to know how much I lean in on this. I was in some groups with Schechter, I believe,
Dr. Schechter.
um, and I watched some people who were really still very much like, do I, don't I? Or, I managed to walk through the store, they have no ailments, but they're totally holding them to the point where they're miserable pain. I know what that's like, but I also could see you, gosh, if you could just let that go, you probably could walk through the store and never even think about it. And I thought, hey, I'm so lucky because this has just been like, boom, like gate is open. I'm not going to be tricked anymore. And I did have just an instant recovery in some ways, like instantly. But then a few months later, I had a really stressful episode of my wife going away and all this stuff. And I got this super strong nerve pain down my arm really, really badly. Classic I had, it got so intense that I was suicidal. This is months later, I was suicidal, like to the point where I was saying, if this doesn't, I just need to know there's an out for me. If this doesn't get any better, because I've been so beat up by the pain at this point in my life. I'm like, if this is another one of those things that never gets better, I might have to jump off the freeway bridge. Like, I didn't think I would do it, but I just needed to know
So is
what's
that
my out.
severe? So
Yeah,
really, you had a break from the back, and then this thing hits you, and at that point, you didn't. At that point, you didn't connect the dots right away. To
I couldn't believe this is too intense. This is not mind pain. I'm in like my arm's burning. I can't sleep. I'm like dying. Um, and I've suffered too much and just my mind just starts running away from me and I'm just doing whatever I've done before and I can't hold on to the mind body thing. It seems like that. And for a couple of weeks, I go see, instantly I go get an MRI. I have a serious disc extrusion that it says severe stenosis on the MRI. You've got severe stenosis. Like you've got real mechanical things here, dude, and you've got a real nerve under pressure and you're having real pain. Like, is my mind making it worse? Sure, I'll give you that. Did my mind cause some tension? Maybe. But this one's about a 90-10. I was working with a mental therapist at the time, and she was like, hmm. I'm like, no, this one's 90-10 mechanical versus mine. She's like, mm-hmm. And she just now, only a few weeks later, when I was like, okay, well, maybe that one was like 70-30 or 60-40. Now, if I look back, I'm like, yeah, that was 100% mind body. Like,
yeah.
mind body caused that.
Yeah, yeah. And this. Let me just pause for a second because this is really important. You had serious changes on the MRI. You also had it in your back the first time, and now you had it in your neck. And you can very easily, and you did believe that's what it was, but sure enough, it did go away. You didn't need
No
surgery.
surgery.
You didn't need, it wasn't
A
that.
few
So
weeks, a
everybody
few
can
weeks.
take this in. Yeah, it's not even severe changes. It may not be the cause.
I mean, especially if the pain has come on to you in some um, somewhat rapid fashion. Like I tell my girls now all the time, if it came from nowhere, it's going to go back to nowhere. Like it's just
Hmm.
though anything that comes from nowhere now, I get back glitches, I get stuff, but I know like this is, I mean, I know I might even have to stumble and fall down and really wrestle with it, and I might have to go through a batch. so be it. But I'm never gonna not know that I suffer from mind body syndrome. I'm never gonna not know that I'm far more likely to amplify or to create. And now when I have pain, I'm like, okay, something's going on. This is really uncomfortable. What are you trying to tell me, body? What is it? There's something going on for you. And I
Mhm.
try to think, am I being gentle enough? I'm like, hey, it's like you're gonna be okay. You got this, like you can handle this. And the big thing for me is just accepting this has been like, I can take this and I can take way more than this. That has
Mhm.
been my freeing saying, like, I'm not gonna be afraid of you. If you're my boogeyman and you've been my boogeyman, I'm looking into the closet. Open the closet doors. What's in here? Show
Yeah.
me what's in here.
Yeah, that's one of the steps since I've worked with you, one of the steps I created in the plan of action is similar. Where I tell people, welcome it, invite it in, open the door, look at it, call it in, go ahead, please be my guest. You're basically standing up to it, right? You're challenging it, you're calling it out that it's not true. This is not real, right? This is my mind. So it sounds like you stood up to it in a way.
Or you have to keep standing up to it over and over
Yeah,
again. I'm in the best shape of my life right now. Uh, a month ago I rode 211 miles with 18,000 feet of climbing in a single day.
that's
Or
awesome, Jasper.
14 hours on a bike, and 14 and a half hours on a bike, bent over, with a lot of pre-existing real like bone on bone in my knee, lots of problems. I'm 50, like you pick them up. But to the guy who lay on a mattress multiple times for months and months and months, I mean, I could have moved past those things in weeks or less, or had I had the beliefs that I had. No, maybe I just need to suffer that long.
Well, the belief, you're highlighting how important the belief is. And I think the belief is what can cut right through this thing if you can really get it. And I remember working with you and you couldn't even ride the bike. You weren't doing any of that stuff. You weren't in the surfing. You weren't doing anything barely. I remember it was down to very little or struggling ballet. So to hear you say that, it's just proof of this work, that these things just, you have to really dive deep and, like you said, question it and look at it. Does it make sense? Rapid onset out of nowhere. Did I hurt myself? No. Okay. It's probably something else then.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this call and this conversation, and just, I mean, so much has been about. I read a great book that's not part of the mind body community, but it did really resonate with me. It's called The Comfort Crisis, and it'll be a great way to pass the time if you happen to be battling pain right now. But definitely part of it is just looking through the 50,000 years of evolution that the humankind has gone through, and like the last 100 years of rapid advancements. Like there's no way our physiology can catch up. So we used to tolerate heat and cold and being a little hungry and all these other little things. And that's dovetails nicely into saying, I can take this and more. I'm literally physically designed to take way more than I'm getting myself accustomed to. Oh, I have a friend who suffers from my body, and I try to talk to him, but he's not ready for it. But he has to have 10 pillows just to sit in a chair. I'm like, you don't, man. Your body used to sit in a squat. That was your relaxing. Like sit by the campfire for 6 hours in a squat. That was relaxing.
Yeah, that was normal.
So physiologically, we have that in us. We got to get back to it somehow.
Yeah, it's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. That's not always brought to attention, but I think you're right. Reminds me of a physiotherapist I work with in Australia named Peter O'Sullivan. He's changed his tune on all this work. He's done tons of research. He said the same thing. Our bodies are designed to withstand tons of forces. The back can lift, the back can twist, the back can bend. We don't have to worry about the posture. We don't have to worry about these things. We are built stronger than we ever believed. But like you said, modern day stuff, we forget. Our brain hasn't evolved. It's still thinking a tiger's chasing us when it's nothing and it's just a stress in the house. And you can get severe reactions. Like you had I want to highlight that again. You had some very severe reactions, very physical, severe reactions that were not caused by physical problems.
Yeah, to reiterate, I mean, you're on one day riding a bike 40 miles, and the next day you're lying on a sofa in full on back flare. Um, and it's because there's a war in your mind about, is this real? Is it not real? I'm fine. It is real. I'm about to go down a hill. It's not real. This is just my body. Like, even when you start to get purchase on this and you feel like you're making progress, you warned me. There's no way you're just sailing out of here like that's the end of it. Like, we got tested on little things. We got tested on that one huge big arm thing.
Hmm.
I'm still getting tested today, but
Yeah, that's it. That's really important for people to know. And I tell people, I said, look, when you, especially when they're getting better, I said, look, be alert, be awake for this because you can get hit again. The programs and patterns run real deep in us, and they can activate at any time from some stress or something the mind's getting kicked off about. And so you could have other ones, but half the battle is knowing what it is right away. It can die off quick. If it takes hold in you for some time, it sometimes gets the person. Then they start going down all the rabbit hole of negativity and worry and concern and all the other stuff.
I don't know if you talk about this, but this is so important to me, and I see this so often. Let's say a classic pain phenomenon for me is, okay, let's say I'm trying to get some radiculopathy down my arm, some radiating arm pain, some who knows where it's from. Is it pec minor? Of course, like you want, what is it? Is it pec minor? Is it ulnar? You're thinking of all these, but I'm getting some pain down my arm right now. And it's have I been holding my pencil too tight? Am I doing too much keyboard? Like, you're going through all the things, and it's been 3 days of this now. It's starting to bother me at night, and then I'm like, okay, now like that is a constant thing that's happened in my life. But now I'm like, whoa, you're starting to get some pain. So yes, maybe you are holding some tension some weird way, or maybe you're having some mind body flare up. It could be that you've been doing a lot of typing and it's just an overuse thing. But whatever it is, I got it. I got it. And I'm just gonna be cool. I'm gonna obviously, if I am sort of amplifying it with my own postural things or typing, I gotta like switch hands or something like that because that's just smart. But definitely, as your mind starts to think about it, if you've got this, your mind will then start to put more and more and more tensions there. That's the whole TMS thing. I know we've changed the name of it, but there really is a tension thing going on, mind created tension that grabs nerves. And that causes additional muscle tightening all around you. So it's real, but it came from the wrong sense. And if you keep thinking of that, that's the mechanical thing you're looking for. It is mechanical. Your mind thinks the wrong thing, sends some tension, which amplifies and on and on. And all of a sudden you've got a full lockup. And that's what makes it, that hurts. That hurts to have that.
Yeah, it just highlights, and I've seen so many people, like my mind gets blown every week with the types of symptoms people can have, the severity of symptoms people can have that are literally caused by the brain, not by the body. And so anything can be caused by the brain as long as you know you didn't hurt yourself or there's any reason. And I think what the highlight today before we finish is the idea that you cannot just go by the MRI or X-ray scans. You cannot just go by what their doctor tells you. You've got to look deeper at times. And you did that, thankfully. You went beyond that.
Thankfully, you reach out and find people, find a great therapist, find a great PT therapist, confirm the medical diagnosis. Um, it's no way to live. Whatever you're hanging on to, if you're come this far, it's 99% likely that this is what you got. This is what you're dealing with. If you come this far, 99% of the chance is that this is what you're dealing with. Go with it. You got nothing to lose.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice, Jasper. I know you got to run. I'm thankful you made some time to come on and share your story. It's short but super powerful because you had some severe symptoms that you got over, and here you are. The same changes in your body, they're still there. They're probably a little worse because you've been getting older, but you're cranking out bike rides, going up mountains, and you're living your life again. So it's so awesome to see.
Yeah. Thank you for all the help. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Okay, man. See ya.